Welcome to Daily with Doc and Becca. This program is for educational purposes only. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual sharing their testimony. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach. Welcome to Daily with Doc and Becca. This program is for educational purposes only. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual sharing their testimony. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Daily with Doc and Becca. I'm your host, Becca Dukes. I'm a wellness advocate, I have a curious mind, and someone who always is asking big questions about how we can live healthier and more vibrant lives. Now, it took me a while to figure this out, but now that I have figured it out, I feel that it is my honor and duty to be able to share information with you so you also can figure it out. Today we have Pharmacist Ben Fuchs on Pharmacist Fridays, which is one of our favorite days of the week, because he has so much information and knowledge that I love the fact that he is willing to come on and share with us. For those of you who do not know who Pharmacist Ben is, he's a pharmacist, he's a nutritionist, he's a cosmetic chemist with over 30 years of experience in the health and wellness space. He's the founder of Truth Treatments and is a passionate educator when it comes to empowering people to take control of their own health, be their own health advocate and authority naturally and intelligently, folks. So today's episode is going to be challenge. We're actually going to challenge some of the things that you may have thought as being accurate in the health and nutrition part of your life. Okay. Sounds bold, but hey, you're in for a big treat. And if you're here live with us and you'd like to raise your hand, as we're good, if we have time, we're going to take questions at the end. If you're out on YouTube or Rumble or Facebook and there's a way to comment, you have a question, I have an amazing co-host team that are watching those platforms for those questions and bringing them into the Zoom. Now, yes, this is a live Zoom. So if you would like to join us, we're here Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from 12 to 1 p.m. Pacific, 1 to 2 Mountain, 2 to 3 Central, and 3 to 4 Eastern. You're going to have to figure out what it is if you're in a different time zone, but I know you as an empowered individual can make that happen. So join us at zoom.dailywithdoc.com. And if you're out on one of those platforms or any of the platforms, because I think we're in about 15 or 16, maybe even 20 right now, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Turn on those notifications so that you know when new content is available. We're not going to put out a junk. We're not going to do a whole bunch of nonsense, folks. This is stuff that's going to feed you as an empowered individual so you can help yourself, your family, and your community in creating a better health journey. If you're here live with us in the Zoom, make sure that you are watching that profile that says smile, because that's what everybody else is seeing. And make sure that you have the chat on, as we have two amazing ladies who are putting the information that's being spoken into the chat to help you with keeping notes. So without further ado, Pharmacist Ben Fuchs, welcome to Daily with Doc and Becca. And it's Pharmacist Friday. How are you today?
Daily with Doc and Becca.
Daily with Doc and Becca.
Is that what you just said? I didn't catch what you said.
Yeah, we're
all right.
Yes, today Pharmacist Fridays on Daily with Doc and Becca.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Good to see you, and you look radiant and beautiful, and I love your hair. Whatever you did.
Well, you know, sometimes you get curly hair, you get health crises, and you just have to pull it up and tame it.
Yeah, it's very creative, very artistic. I wish I had that much hair. I could do it too, but I don't. So.
Well, it hasn't always been like this, Ben.
No?
It used to be very thin and dull and lifeless. I mean, I had enough of a wave that it was just annoying.
Oh, that's interesting. Before you got into supplementation and taking care of your health.
Before I got into the right supplementation.
Okay, got it.
Learning that what I thought was right.
A lot of myths out there. A lot of myths.
There are a ton of myths out there.
AJ was talking to me. AJ, do you want to wait on that, or what do you want to do on that? What AJ was talking about. I thought that was kind of interesting. What AJ said.
I think we can go ahead and start with that. Yeah, and then let's some of the common misconceptions.
Okay, I want to make sure we get some questions answered. We probably have folks out there who have questions, no?
We do.
Okay, good. So let's go ahead, AJ.
Well, no, I was concerned about the fact that there are many people out there who are listening to this new press release that was released by the American College of Cardiology, talking about concise clinical guidance informs the use of popular GLP-1 medications to reduce cardiovascular risk. And I'm saying that we're not drug deficient. We are misinformed about what we put in our body and the effect of what we put in our body, how it affects our body, and how it affects our bodily processes. And I think that would be a press release to send out to people to get them to deal with their cardiovascular issues or prevent cardiovascular disease, more than advising people to take a drug.
Well, it's an interesting point you're raising. First of all, who says that the American Cardiology gives a rat's you-know-what about you? Why do we assume right off the bat that the American College of Cardiology works for AJ, or works for AJ's mother, or works for me, or works for Rebecca? Or Why do we assume that these organizations, these medical organizations, work for us and have our best interests in mind? Where does that come from? Just because they're doctors? They're made up of doctors? In fact, as it turns out, a certain percentage, probably 20% of the funding for the American College of Cardiology comes from pharmaceutical companies. Pharmaceutical companies want to sell their drugs. So, I mean, we gotta wake up here and just not be so naive about what's happening. When you hear something on MSNBC or on CNN or on Fox News or, about how important it is to inject yourself with some toxins so you don't get a virus, how do we know that MSM and how do we know that they're telling us the legitimate truth? How do we know that the doctor that they have that's being interviewed isn't being paid by some drug company who's selling the medicine that he's talking about? We don't. We just gotta be a little bit more sophisticated. The fact is that your body doesn't run on drugs. I mean, that's not debatable. Your body runs on nutrients. It runs on food. Why would you resort to a medication simply because a lobbying group, some kind of organization with an agenda tells you something? Now, I know that some people are going to read this and say, oh, that means Wegovy's okay and Ozempic's okay, but that's on them. I don't want to be rude to anybody out there. I know present company excluded because most people who are listening to this aren't going to have that position, but a lot of people will, as your point, making a very interesting point. There's a phenomena in the body where cells that are dysfunctional will actually initiate a self-destruct program. They'll kill themselves, cell suicide. It's called apoptosis. Have you heard this?
Cell Harry, yeah.
Cell Harry, yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's called apoptosis. Have you heard that term, apoptosis?
From you.
Okay, got it. Nobody else talks about it? Rebecca?
I've not heard it elsewhere.
Okay, have you heard of it, Rebecca?
I've heard of it, but mostly because of you.
Is that right? Nobody else is talking about it? That's interesting.
No.
Okay, fair enough. So apoptosis comes from the Greek term for to fall off, and it refers to cell suicide. The cells that are genetically or that are somehow damaged, it's a mechanism to keep them from reproducing. It's a very healthy mechanism. That way, dysfunctional cells don't reproduce. In cancer, it represents a failure of the apoptotic mechanism. Cancer cells is a cell that's escaped apoptosis. Instead of dying like it's supposed to, it reproduces, and obviously, thus there's a problem, right? So far, I'm going somewhere with this. Okay, are you with me so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so apoptosis refers to cell suicide, but there's another phenomena that's very similar called phenoptosis versus apoptosis. Phenoptosis refers to an organism doing the same thing.
How do you spell that?
Phenoptosis, phenoptosis. You looking it up?
Yes. Well, no, actually, I don't have to look it up because I totally trust you. So I don't have to look it up. I was just trying to figure out how do you spell that?
Phenoptosis.
All right, thank you.
Phenoptosis is a programmed death of an organism, as opposed to apoptosis, which is a programmed death of a cell. Okay? You with me so far? So in some species, for example, fish, under certain circumstances, especially after they mate, their genes will cause the organism to die. That's called phenoptosis. Certain rodents, that happens to certain rodents as well.
Will salmon do that or something?
Salmon will do that, exactly. You probably heard of that. After they reproduce, they do their little, their salmon run, they'll die. And that's nature's way of eliminating animals that are unnecessary. There's certain insects that will do that after they mate. Anyway, it's a phenomenon that occurs organismically that duplicates or is analogous to the phenomenon that happens cellularly. I believe that human beings will demonstrate phenoptotic behavior. And that phenoptotic behavior will be subconscious. The human being is going to go out necessarily. Maybe they will jump off a building. I don't know, but that's not what I'm referring to. The human being will subconsciously have a program that says, hey, I'm not supposed to reproduce here, so I'm going to go listen to my doctor. So I'm going to eat McDonald's. So I'm going to smoke. So I'm going to drink Coca-Cola. This is my personal belief. It seems to be the same mechanism. Because why else would somebody participate in these idiotic behaviors? Why else would they do it? You know, it seems to me that the ridiculous things we do as human beings that we know fly in the face of our health and our well-being and are only going to kill us, and not just kill us, but kill us in miserable ways, there has to be some drive for it. Sigmund Freud talked about it. He talked about the thanatic, he talked about Thanatos, which is the drive to death. And that's just what it is. So look, not everybody has to have it. You don't have to eat McDonald's. You don't have to take drugs. You don't have to do it. There's plenty of options. We're giving people options right here on this program. I am every Friday, but Rebecca and, you know, on Daily Talk, you're doing it every day. You're giving people options. And that's really what this is about. This is about giving people options. It's one thing if you don't know you have options, and a lot of people don't know. I thought I had to have my gallbladder out. I thought I had to have a hysterectomy. I thought I had to take these drugs. I thought I had no option. I thought death, you know, my only option was death if I didn't have this particular procedure done or take this particular medicine or whatever. We're giving people options. That's the bottom line here. So if the American College of Cardiology says something to me, you know what I say? I say, you know what I would say. You know, that's
have a nice day.
Right, exactly. And that's what I say when I see a McDonald's commercial. And I say this all the time in this program. Every time we hear a McDonald's commercial, we should get so angry. But we don't, you know. The lines at Taco Bell are longer than ever. Lines at Chick-fil-A, lines at McDonald's. You know, we're like lemmings. We're participating in our own demise. And I think my hunch is there's a reason for it. I don't see it as, I can't imagine why people could do this without some kind of reason, even if it's a subconscious reason. It seems to be a drive. You know, I told the story, I think I told you the story about the hospital when I worked in neonatal ICU. Did I tell you the story? Yeah. It's absurd, right? I mean, I tell you the story and you're like, there's no way, but that's what it was. Their babies were next to them and there was so much smoke I couldn't stand in the building, in the room to watch a football game.
Okay, but
I had to leave. And the babies that were neonates, they were in neonatal ICU intensive care. We were right next to them in the hospital. The hospital had this smoking room. But this is the world we live in. So it's up to us. This is about us. I don't want to rip on doctors. I know ripping on the American College of Cardiology is low-hanging fruit. Wegovy, and just to answer your question, prescription drugs come with side effects. They come with adverse reactions. There's no way to get around it. You're putting a molecule in your body that is by its nature, not as a side problem, but by its nature, a toxin. It's working by being a toxin. That's the way it works. That's the way it works. It's not like, oopsie, it intentionally is a toxin, except it's a good toxin. It's a good poison. You know, obviously that's crazy, but that's what it is. So who in their right mind would do that if they knew they had an option? I can only think that it's apoptosis or phenoptosis.
Yeah, I'm in partial agreement with you, Ben. I think that we have the best marketing minds in the world living in America.
That's right.
And so, you know, their marketing tactics are very powerful and maybe reaches the subconscious in a way that it is apoptotic and maybe prevents us from thinking properly.
Well, you know, they want American College of Cardiology is 20% funded by drug companies or some percentage funded by drug companies. So they have an agenda. The American College of Cardiology has to say something. When you watch the news, in between listening to Brett Baer or Rachel Maddow, whoever you're listening to, there's a commercial, right? I don't know who you're listening to, whoever anybody's listening to, there's a commercial for a drug, you know? So that means the drug company sponsors or pays for that news program. They pay for the news program. So if they're paying for the news program, they're paying for the anchor, they're paying for the camera people, they're paying for all of the whatever it takes to put a news program on the air. Doesn't logic tell you that the news program is going to have an incentive to make sure that whoever's paying their salary is happy? I mean, come on, we just got to be logical here. So obviously, if these entities, these organizations are paying, they're going to want something. They're not paying just for charity. They're paying to get something back.
And I'm gonna leave the screen so that Becca can ask you some real questions. But it's true. I was in one of my Twitter forum groups, and everyone was complaining. It was talking about the fact that they may ban some commercials or limit the amount of pharmaceutical commercials that'll be allowed on television. And everyone agreed that you can get rid of all the commercials except for the Sky Rizzy, because everybody loves Nothing Is Everything.
Nothing is everything, Sky Rizzy. What about the one where the Broadway show where the
Broadway show.
Yeah, where the mailman is singing and the little bird is dancing by the mailman's head. You know, I mean, it's absurd. Obviously, it's absurd, but that's the world we live in. Look, people, we're not sick because we're missing drugs. We're sick because we're not running our bodies correctly. So, look, there's a cost to all of these things. And if we're run by this little post, and I don't want to beat anybody up for what they do. Everybody gets to do whatever they want to do. So I don't even like talking about this subject because it always sounds like we're ragging on people or, we're making people feel somehow inadequate. And I don't like doing that, If people want to do Wegovy or Ozempic, and if they want to listen to the American College of Cardiology who says you should do it, have at it. But there's plenty of people who understand that there's better ways to do this. And that's who we're talking to. If somebody wants to do Wegovy, I don't talk to them about how bad Wegovy is. And I don't suggest anybody else does. And if somebody's eating their French fries, it's not going to go well if you tell them how bad French fries are while they're enjoying their McDonald's fries. So let them enjoy their fries. And when they come to you for help, then help them. And that's the way I look at this whole subject. I don't feel comfortable telling people, how they should medicate themselves or not medicate themselves. For people who have weight problems, and that's why you take Wegovy. That's why a lot of people, not most, but a lot of people take Wegovy or Ozempic, maybe even most for weight problems. It's really an anti-diabetic drug. It's a drug that supports insulin, and as you know, we talk about this all the time. Insulin is, if not the main hormone, it very likely is the main hormone in the body, but it's certainly one of the main hormones in the body. It works by changing the way the body processes insulin. It makes the body more sensitive to insulin or pumps out more insulin, or forces the body to pump out more insulin. So you get a bigger insulin response. It also makes the body more sensitive to insulin, so you don't need as much insulin. So it has multiple benefits, including cardiovascular benefits. But the problem is you're telling the body what to do rather than letting the body do what it wants to do. And that's really what we have to look at. Because people think they can eat all the sugar they want, all the pizza and bread and pasta and all the things they want, and they can just take their Wegovy. And there's going to be a price to be paid for that. And we're already starting to see, it's only been around, this idea of just using Wegovy when you're not a diabetic just to lose weight has only been going on for a few years now. And we're already starting to see toxicities and side effects starting to show up. I was just reading about eye problems associated with Wegovy and Ozempic. So, there's no drug that, pharmacists study this. We go to school to study this. There's no drug that can be enjoyed without at least a little bit of a toxicity or side effect. Now, for the most part, it's nothing dramatic. Otherwise, you wouldn't be taking it. But it's subtle and it's quiet and it's under the radar until it reaches a threshold. And that's just the way you have to look at it. It's a mindset. It's a mindset that says my body is holy and sacred and I can take care of it with holy and sacred tools, i.e. food. Or also, not even just food, nutrition. And not even just nutrition, breathing. And not even just breathing, rest and sleep and relaxation, and activating the vagus nerve and the parasympathetic nervous system. We have a whole host of ways to take care of our bodies. Why are we resorting to these artificial, toxic, ultimately deadly strategies, which include ablations, burning, cauterizing, excising, surgical procedures, drugs? Why are we resorting to that? I mean, it seems so commonsensical to me, and it doesn't even seem like it's worth even talking about. To me, I mean, I don't want to tell you what to talk about, but it seems just so commonsensical, doesn't it? Am I missing something?
Well, I think a lot of people like to go the easy route or think, okay, it's out of my control. I'll just follow, what's recommended for me and hope it works.
Phenoptosis.
Phenoptosis.
Phenoptosis. Thanatos.
Well, and
Like,
Deb says it's laziness and it's so much easier to do what you're told or take a pill.
well, so look, here's a perfect example. Why would you smoke cigarettes? I mean, clearly, inhaling toxic smoke to anybody, any child, any logical person, inhaling toxic smoke into your mouth, into your body, hot toxic smoke with paper and pesticides and glue and tobacco and all. Clearly, that's not a good thing. But why would we do it? We do it.
Because we see
Millions of
somebody
people,
else do it.
millions upon millions of people do it. Why?
Like monkey see, monkey do. Just
It's not
something
whoever
to-
said laziness. Is that laziness? No.
well, I don't know. If it's laziness.
Apoptosis.
All right.
That's the only thing I can think of. I don't know. Maybe it's not, but that's the only thing I can think of. I don't know why.
Well, you know, one thing about this program, Pharmacist Ben,
Yes.
is we're able to put information out there for those that are looking, they'll find.
Yes, that's who's listening to this program, are people who want to make a difference in their health the right way, the correct way. And I don't want to be preachy about the right way or the correct way. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but it's right in the sense that it rides with the body. It rides on the body's biochemistry. This is why nutrition is so much more powerful than drugs. You know, I've said this before, I'll say it again. When you take a drug, you got to take extra because the body's getting rid of it. So they have to account for what the body gets rid of so that you're taking a higher dose than you need. It's adjusted. So the adjusted dosage takes into account that your liver is going to, they call this first pass effect. The liver is going to eliminate a bunch of that drug as soon as it sees it. You don't have that issue with nutrition. When you take a drug, your body has to utilize vitamin C and copper and magnesium and zinc and a whole host of other nutrients to clear the drug out. That's not true with nutrition. When you take a drug, your body's not using that. It is not incorporating that drug into its structure. The drug has to somehow artificially get into the cell to fool the cell to somehow accept it. It has to look like it's something that is friendly. It has to disguise itself. Why does it have to disguise itself? You know, there's an old saying that, if you have to explain yourself, if you have to explain the joke, it's not funny. Or if you're explaining, you're not winning. Well, that's what drugs have to do. They've got to explain themselves to the cell. They can't get into the cell unless they somehow convince the cell that they're friendly, either through the chemical structure, which is similar to something that's friendly, or through a liposome, some kind of covering that disguises the substance. They have to trick the substance into getting into the cell. Doesn't work with nutrients. There's 90 nutrients that are said to be essential in the sense that you have to have them. And the price of not having them is disease, is a breakdown in the body. You can't get that with a medication. And it's as simple as that. The reason I'm a nutritional pharmacist is because I believe that nutrients do everything that you want a drug, nutrients do everything that you're asking a drug to do with no toxicity and no side effects and no adverse reactions and no interference with the body. It's kind, it's gentle, it's nourishing. Why would you want to take a hacksaw and carve up the body chemically with a drug when you can feed it? You know, it just doesn't make any sense to me as a pharmacist who studied these things. It doesn't make any sense to me. Nutrients are God's medicine. If you don't like that, let's say nutrients are nature's medicine. They're divine medicine. They do what all drugs wish they could do. Nutrients are what drugs dream they could be.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And from my own experience,
You can tell it's
I know
cardiology, by the way. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I just from my own experience, exactly what you said. Nutrients are what pharmaceuticals wish they could be.
Wish they
I
could
mean,
be. Yeah, if
from my
Boehringer
experience, I know-
Ingelheim, if one of the drug companies could come up with a molecule like vitamin C, they wouldn't heartbeat. They got a molecule that has no toxicity, that doesn't only fight cancer, but helps your heart, it helps your skin, it helps your adrenal glands, your thyroid. It's important for every single cell of the body. The body responds to it positively on all levels. Of course, SmithKline and French, or I don't even know the name of the drug companies anymore. That's an old drug company. Merck, whatever the drug companies are, they keep getting bought out and having their names changed. Of course they would do that, but they can't. So they come up with these artificial things and they tweak them, and then they sell them to us as drugs, and they do a song and dance for us. If you're explaining, you're not winning, and that's why they have to do the commercials. There's no commercials for vitamin C. You ever see a commercial for vitamin C? Do you ever see a commercial for essential fatty acids? No.
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. But hey, if the song and dance is working, Ben, maybe we need to change our
we
whole
need a
approach.
song and dance. I know you sing. I know you do a little singing.
And you can dance, so let's do it.
Wait a minute. Who said I could dance? I can't dance. I don't know. I'm not a dancer.
Well,
All right, let's take some questions. Or no,
let's take some questions. And just a reminder, folks, if you were invited to watch this show by somebody specific, get back with them. If there is no one to thank and you'd like to speak with a certified holistic health coach, we do have a team standing by at 855-949-3377. Again, that's 855-949-3377. So let's go to Verna, who has had her hand up from the very beginning. Hello, Verna.
Verna.
Hello, folks. How you doing?
Hi, Verna. Where are you?
Hi,
Verna.
So I had someone that was supposed to get on this phone today, on the Zoom today. His name is Lou, but I don't see his name in the
Do you happen to have his? Do you have the question that?
Yeah. I'm going to tell you. Okay, so he called me and he told me that he had these permanent, these permanent teeth put in his mouth. I don't know what you call them, but anyway, these permanent teeth where they
implants. Okay.
And the dentist gave him the Novocaine or whatever to numb him, and the numbness on one of the teeth never went away. And when he speaks, and when he speaks, it's how it is when you're numb. He still speaks like that. And so he told the dentist, and I think the dentist gave him some kind of medication, but I'm asking what longevity might have to help this situation. I don't know if there is.
That could be nerve damage.
I was just going to ask.
What did the dentist say? That could be some kind of
lawsuit. A lawsuit. Well, he did say that he wasn't paying the dentist because he messed him up. I don't know if he went back to the dentist or if he went to the doctor, but they gave him some sort of medicine to take to say that maybe this would happen. But that's why.
Usually that stuff wears off in a few hours. How long had it been? Days?
Oh yeah, it's been a long time.
That sounds like nerve damage to me.
Oh, okay.
I don't know exactly the procedure, but if anesthetics don't last that long. They're designed specifically to break down and go through the blood and be eliminated in a couple hours, 2, 3, 4 hours kind of thing. So no, that could be nerve damage. That's something I've checked out. Is it numb to the point where he can't talk?
Oh no, he can talk.
Okay, I mean, but he's like he has a hard time articulating.
Oh no, I could hear him, but you know how it is if you've ever been to the dentist, and it almost sounds like a little bit like somebody that's had a stroke, kind of.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking. He's having a hard time articulating. That sounds like nerve damage to me. That's what my guess would be. That's not I wouldn't say that's a nutritional solution. That being said, the nerves are very responsive to certain nutrients, particularly fats, like essential fatty acids, ultimate EFAs, vitamin E, also the B complex and electrolytes. Those are basically the nerves are very, very sensitive to nutrition and also to inflammation. That's where people get neuropathies from. So there's things you could do to support nerve health, but that sounds like nerve damage to me.
Oh wow! And no reversing nerve damage.
It depends on how damaged it is. It could be temporary damage. I don't know, but that does sound like some kind of damage.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll share this.
And I'm sorry that happened. Yeah, I'm sorry that happened. He can call me if he wants, or you can.
Okay, all right, I have your number.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Verna.
thank you,
Thank
Ben.
you.
All right. Thank you, Verna. And Jill is saying that I have experienced this nerve damage from the wisdom teeth being removed 30 years ago. So, yeah. Let's go to Owner. Owner, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Owner.
You're on live, so I don't have a name.
Oh, sorry. I don't know why that came up like that. This is James.
Hi,
James.
Hi. Thank you for taking my question. My issue is I believe it's allergies, mold allergies, and I've been thinking about diet. I mean, I pretty much eat I hope I'm eating a decent diet. I pretty much eat the same thing. I am supplementing heavily with
Why do you think you have mold allergies, James?
Years ago, I went to I think it was like an integrated medicine holistic, and they did blood tests on me. And
Aside from integrate today or like recently,
well, it's weather-wise. Every time it's
it's
damp.
seasonal. Like it's seasonal.
Yeah, especially damp, cold weather.
So why do you think it's mold as opposed to like anything else? Are you just guessing, or you know it's mold, or?
I'm assuming because of the weather, the weather seems to trigger it all the time.
Okay, well, we don't know that it's mold, and I'm only pointing that out to you because if you have this, if you believe something but it's not true, you can't really address it. But it does sound like an immune system problem. So I'm not going to go with mold. We're going to go with an immune system issue, and I'm going to tell you why here in a minute. But first, let me ask you, what are your symptoms?
Some fatigue, um, nasal drip.
Fatigue. Okay, gotcha. So like allergy symptoms.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so here's the deal. Your immune system is like a camel's back, and it can handle a certain amount of straws before it breaks. When you have a reaction, an immune reaction to something in the environment or to food for that matter, that represents a straw that's broken the camel's back. Immune load has been reached, and now you're into you've broken the camel's back. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So what you want to look at is what immune loads do you have control over? You don't have control over pollen. You very likely don't have control over mold. A little bit more if it's in your house kind of thing. You could clean your house, etc. But you don't have control over a lot of these straws that are on the camel's back. You don't have control over what's in your water, you don't have control over what you're breathing, but you do have control over the most important immune stressor that there is. What do you suppose before I'll ask you what you think the most important immune stressor there is, but before I tell you that, where's your immune system located? It's spread out all throughout your whole body, but where's it concentrated?
Yes, I know this from listening to you, and I've been recently the gut, and I've been recently
that's headquarters of your immune system.
Okay.
And so the most important immune assaults and the ones that you have the most control over are what you eat. So what I would recommend is two things for you. First of all, I would be doing, unless you already know, I would be doing a food diary to assess what kind of foods are triggering your immune system that you're eating. Can't control your mold and can't control the pollen, but you can definitely control what you're eating. If you know, then you want to eliminate, but if you don't know, then you kind of take notes. You got to get some data. And then the second thing you want to do is you want to start to strengthen the immune system. Now, real quickly, the most important, or probably the most important, but certainly one of the most important immune stimulating molecules, or immune system molecules, we'll say, is something called histamine. You've heard of histamine?
Yes.
Okay, so what do they give you when you have allergic reactions? What kind of drug do they give you?
I don't know.
They give you antihistamines, right?
Okay, got it.
So, but that same histamine that's causing your immune reactions can also be found in foods. There's histamine in foods. Leftover foods are notorious in histamines. So you may be eating leftover foods and not know that that is adding to your histamine load. You follow me? You may be thinking, and I'm not saying you're doing this, I'm just, just throwing these out for you. You may be saying I'm gluten-free because I know I have a problem with gluten or I know gluten's bad for me, but you might be eating sausage or bologna or cheese, all of which are high histamine foods. You may be eating, you may be thinking, oh, I'm a vegetarian. I'm not saying this is you, James. I'm talking, just generally speaking. You may say, oh, I'm a vegetarian. I don't eat meat. I only eat vegetables. I only eat organic, but you might be having pineapple, which is high in histamine. Or you may be having oranges, which are high in histamine. Or you may be having spinach or tomatoes, which are high in histamine. You may be you may be producing histamine at the level of the gut. Histamine is produced by cells that live in the intestine in response to food intolerances, and those will cause a runny nose, and those will cause the symptoms of allergic reactions. You follow what I'm saying, James? These are places where you have control. You don't have control over pollen. You don't have control over mold, but you do have control over the kind of foods you're eating. You do have control over intestinal health, and it's not just gluten. Please understand this, people. It's not just gluten. There's no gluten in bananas. There's no gluten in pineapples. There's no gluten in spinach. Now, I'm not telling you that spinach is a bad food because I know every time I say this, somebody says to me, I thought spinach was good for me. Yes, it's good for you, but if you have a problem with histamine, you may have an issue with spinach. That's why I always say do a food diary. And that's why I have a problem with these lists of foods because everybody's got their own problems. If you're eating leftovers, leftovers are high in histamine. Food as it breaks down can produce histamines. There are cells in the body, mast cells in the intestine, I should say, that release histamine. Bacteria in the intestine release histamine. So if you have leaky gut, you may be dealing with histamine. You may think it's an allergy, a food allergy. I'm sorry, you may think it's a pollen allergy, but it's really histamine that's coming in from foods. You see what I'm saying here, James?
Yes.
That's where you have control. Now, there's also antihistaminic nutrition or nutrients. For example, the zinc FX has antihistaminic properties. Endocannabinoids, hemp FX has, I don't know if we even have hemp FX anymore. Do we, Rebecca? Do we still have hemp FX?
We have very limited in the hemp FX
Hemp
line.
FX has antihistaminic properties. Guess what? You want to hear a really cool antihistamine? Sleepies.
Sleepies, right.
Sleepies. Melatonin has antihistaminic properties. CFX is antihistaminic. So you can use antihistaminic nutrients as well. That's another strategy for you to use. You can't do anything about pollen. You can't do anything about mold, but you can control histamine that's being produced in your body or histamine that you're putting in from foods. Or histamine that's getting into your blood, I should say. Does all that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So quick question. How do I know it's the food? Is it that's
a great question. How do I know it's the foods? Yes. You test it. You eat a food and you test it. And that's another really
What if it doesn't? So what is the time period? So if it doesn't happen
pretty quickly, within an hour, 2 hours, you should notice.
Should be within an hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
And here's a trick for you. Always start with your favorite foods.
Okay.
Always start with the foods, your go-to foods. The ones you love the most.
I have a very limited diet. I eat the same thing.
And that might be good. That's easier for you. If you eat the same thing and you have a limited diet, it's going to be easier for you to assess what's causing the problem. It's when you have a whole bunch of things that it becomes a little trickier. But if you have a limited diet, that's actually that'll be good for assessing what's causing the problem because your options are limited. The choices of the problem, the choices of the foods that are causing the problem is limited. Does that make sense?
Yes. And just quickly, when you say leftover food, so if it is like something you cook and then you put in the refrigerator and you have the next day.
Yes.
So if that is the case, would it be all leftover foods or just that particular
No way to know.
food?
No way to know.
Okay.
The fun of being alive, James. You get to play.
Okay.
You get to play detective here. But you see how you have options now.
Yes.
This is what we're here to do. We're here to provide people with options. And that's what you're doing here. Is you have options, and it's really good because, it seems like, oh, I have hay fever every year. What am I going to do? I don't have any options. Now via this whole idea of immune load that by reducing the load on one end, it'll be more tolerable on the other end.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, James. I know I get a lot of questions in regards to histamines and what can be done. And I love that list that you gave, and I'm just going to repeat it. So through the company that we have found to be solutions for a lot of the nutritional problems that people are experiencing. And that company is called Longevity. Now, the products that Pharmacist Ben just rattled off that are antihistamine products would be Zinc FX, the Hemp FX, Sleep Ease, that's EZE, Sleep Ease, CFX, and the HGH used to be called Amino Youth Complex. Actually, it's HGH Complex. Now it's called the HGH precursors.
What's in there?
It's an HGH precursor, and I'll get the exact name of it.
Where's the antihistamine in that?
So the antihistamine products?
No, you're reading. How did you come up with HGH?
In the chat that was repeated, and so
sorry, I put it because you put melatonin.
Oh, okay, gotcha. No. I'm just gonna throw out some Zinc FX.
Yep.
CFX. I said
Got it.
Sleep Ease because it had melatonin in it. That's why I said Sleep Ease. But you'll get vitamin C, and you'll get zinc in Beyond Tangy Tangerine. There's also what's that?
Our favorite.
And then also choline, which is in Beyond Tangy Tangerine. That's also got antihistaminic properties. You remember when the virus thing happened a few years ago? People were taking quercetin. Remember quercetin
Yes.
became a thing?
It's in there.
Well, guess what? Quercetin is antihistaminic. And now that I think about it, both quercetin and melatonin are part of the COVID protocol. And that might be part of the reason. And long COVID is associated with histamine too, by the way. And then CoQ10, coenzyme Q10, which is in, I think it's in the, is it the D, what product has CoQ10 in it? A few of them have CoQ10.
There's a few of them. Yeah, I know. I think the Tangy Tangerine has it in there too.
And what's that?
The Tangy Tangerine has it in there. And then we also have a product by Integris that's CoQ10.
Okay. And then Ultimate Enzymes has antihistaminic properties via the betaine HCl. Betaine, it has antihistaminic properties. So these are all natural antihistamines that you can use in addition to not, to not ingesting either high histamine foods or histamine releasing foods, or working on your leaky gut, working on the intestine. And at the risk of just beating a dead horse, it all comes down to the intestine. It always comes down to the intestine. Is that too simple? Is that why we have, it's too simple, right? And by the way, Wegovy and Ozempic are known for their intestinal toxicity, intestinal side effects. Those are the most important side effects and toxicity are intestinally related. GLP-1 is an intestinal hormone, and GLP-1 agonists logically affect the intestine, which is where everything starts. Just thought I'd throw that.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay. Well, so on that, when it comes to, you covered the histamines, you talked about food sensitivities just recently, which a lot of people have.
Yes.
It's a rare thing.
Yes.
Somebody had another question. I'm going to find it, but we're going to go over to Hattie while I'm looking for that. So Hattie, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Awesome. Great afternoon. Dr. Pharmacist Ben, can you hear me okay?
I hear you loud and clear, Hattie. What's going on?
Ashe. I got two texts this afternoon. And so I don't have a lot of information, but they were interesting texts. I did send them to take a health evaluation so I could get more information to share with you later, but I just wanted to get your initial reaction.
Okay.
The one person called me a gentleman, senior. He has a mass on his pancreas. They say it's not cancerous, but they want to go in and do some work.
Okay.
I don't know too much other than that. But the woman that emailed me, to text me, she's going in to have some shunts put in her brain because she's constantly having her brain drained of fluids. She had breast cancer a few years ago, and her arms have lymphedema. Her shoulder, her arm, and her knees are all broken bones.
Say again. I didn't understand what you said. Broken bone?
She said her whole body is broken. Both her arms are broken. Her shoulder.
Literally broken or broken out? What do you mean? The bones are broken?
Yes. I don't even know how she gets around.
I don't, that doesn't, I'm not quite understanding that.
Well,
But
this is what she said to me. That's why I get more information because I'm like, how is she
all
get?
her bones are broken.
She says she's literally in
All
constant
right.
pain
Okay.
because
So, I don't want to get into specifics of it because it sounds like she's suffering from a major
Yes.
case of MBFA disease.
Ooh.
It sounds like it's a major case of MBFA disease, like really bad.
Yes.
What's MBFA disease? AJ?
You're gonna tell me.
My body's falling apart disease.
That's what she suffered from. She's falling apart. Remember the Wicked Witch of the West at the end? The Wicked Witch of the West? You ever see Wizard of Oz, Hattie?
Oh yes, yes.
Remember? I'm melting. I'm melting. Remember that?
Yes, I do.
That's what's happening to this poor lady. I'm not making a joke of it because it's terrible.
It is.
Terrible. So I mean, I am making a joke, but I don't mean to make light of it.
Right.
So here's the good news. The sicker you are, the faster you can begin to turn it around. All right. Now, there's so many things going wrong with women that don't even know where to begin. When our body is secreting danger chemicals, histamine, by the way, is a danger chemical. When the body is secreting danger chemicals in response to chronic attack, it becomes leaky. The vessels become leaky. The blood vessels become leaky. The lymphatic vessels become leaky. The glymphatic, you have a glymphatic system in your brain, which is like a lymphatic vessel, the lymphatic circulatory system in the brain. All the vessels become leaky and things leak out, and that's what edema is. In conjunction with that, as we get sicker, it becomes harder for the heart to pump, and that means fluid doesn't pump as effectively, and that makes it compounds the leakiness because the fluids aren't moving. So now they're settling out of the body, all
Yes.
the fluids. And this is what's happening to her. Now, I can't speak to the bones, but it makes perfect sense that she would be dealing with fragile, weak bones. You said she had breast cancer?
Yes.
Did she have her breast removed or any organs removed, mastectomy?
No info.
Okay, so she had cancer as well. So her body is in major, major distress.
Yes.
Now, hopefully this is a woman in her 70s or 80s.
No.
Correct?
No.
Okay,
Yep.
so how old?
She's like 45.
Well, that's severely bad news, but it's also good news. It's severely bad news because she's like an 80-year-old woman. It's good news because that means something major is happening. She's doing something major to the body. I don't know if we talked about first principles on our last program. There are certain first principles that you want to apply to healing. On everybody who's doing longevity should listen up to this. There's certain first principles that you want to apply when you're working with a patient who's sick. One of the first principles is the body is a closed, and by first principles, I mean, I'm saying these are like premises that you start off with, that you assume are true, and then you move forward from that point. One of the first principles is the body is a closed system. It runs perfectly unless something gets into it that shouldn't be getting into it, or unless something's not getting into it that should be. So bad guys are getting in and good guys aren't. I'm being very simplistic, but that's basically it. That's how disease progresses. This woman is manifesting severe disease, pathology, severe breakdown, which means that there is a severe input of toxicity and a severe lack of nutrition. Are you with me?
Yes.
So first and foremost, first principle, the body's a closed system. It runs pristinely unless something is getting in that shouldn't or something is not getting in that should. This is for every pathology, but the more severe the pathology is, the more dramatic the input of toxicity or the lack of input of nutrition is. Good so far?
Yes, yes.
That's great news because she now all she has to look for is a dramatic input of toxicity. And all she has to do is pound the body with all the good stuff, both simultaneously. Now, if she just does all the good stuff, she's still going to get a little bit better. But if she has this massive input of toxicity into the body, she's not going to be able to correct it just with the other side of the equation. You want to do both. So the massive input of toxicity is easy to assess. I'm assuming she's not an IV drug user. So that means it's going to be food. And that's another first principle, is that the major place where toxicity gets into the body, unless you're injecting, is food. Because the first principle really is, it's about the blood. When we say body, we mean blood. From a health perspective, when we say body, we mean blood. You follow me? When I say something's getting into the body that shouldn't, I mean something's getting into the blood that shouldn't. When I say something's not getting into the body that should, I'm saying something's not getting into the blood. It's all about the blood. The life of the body is in the blood. All disease is cell disease, but all cell disease is preceded by dirty blood. Blood, 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 blood. That's why you don't put things into your blood. Just because some knucklehead from the government says you have to do it. Because the blood is distributing everything. So how are things getting into the blood for this lady? She's not injecting them, so it's food. Have her do a food diary, have her correct leaky gut. Get on the Daily Digest, get on the Healthy Start Pack, get on the Ultimate Microbiome, FucoidZ. By the way, FucoidZ works so well for everything because it's a major blood purifier. Ultimate enzymes, too, on an empty stomach are a blood purifier. Glucogel caps on an empty stomach are blood purifiers. Ultimate EFAs are blood purifiers. Oxygen and water are 2 great blood purifiers. She's got to clean the blood. Her blood is majorly toxic. She's only 45, so she's doing something very dramatically. This is a woman. Is this a friend of yours or somebody you know or a client, or how is this?
Yeah, I met her at a speaking engagement and she emailed me.
Tell her she's got to know because it's so dramatic. She's got to know. Tell her what I just talked about. That it's about the blood. Mm-hmm. The only way things get into the blood is through injection or through food, through the intestine. And she probably doesn't know any of this, so you're going to educate her. Now, if she says to you, well, I've been injecting things, she may be, for all you know, and that's one option, but I'm going to assume that's not it. Where are your food problems? How long have you had food problems? Focus on food. Let's build up the intestine. Let's eliminate the problem foods. That's your strategy for this woman. But the bad news is she's way down the rabbit hole. The good news is she's young, and that means it's something dramatic.
Ashay. And the mass on the pancreas.
The mass on the pancreas is a very hard-working organ, particularly the way we eat in this country.
Yes.
The pancreas is what it makes all of the enzymes that help us, all the chemicals that help us process sugar. It also makes the enzymes that help us process foods. So if you're eating a diet that is enzyme deficient, your pancreas is going to be working very hard. If you're eating a diet that has lots of insulin-spiking foods, carbohydrates, and sugars, your pancreas is going to be working very hard. If you're undernutrited and your pancreas is working very hard, cells are going to begin to grow out of control. And that's what a mass is, and it's a precancer. She may not be cancer yet, but it could turn into that. So, and pancreatic cancer is one of the, if not the most deadly, it's one of the most deadly of all cancers. The pancreas, masses on the pancreas or pancreatitis or issues with pancreas represent burdens from the diet. Burdens from the diet in terms of enzyme deficient foods and in terms of sugar. Get her on the healthy blood sugar pack, get her on the ultimate enzymes, and have her change her diet from processed foods into enzyme-rich fresh foods. Fruits, vegetables, eggs, oysters, meat that's not cooked very, like steak tartare, ideally, or sushi, because heat kills enzymes from fish and from meat. So anything she could do any foods that's not cooked, like eggs and oysters, that kind of thing, will have enzymes in it. Fruits and vegetables are the best sources of enzymes, fresh, not cooked, that kind of thing. So change her diet from unprocessed foods to enzyme-rich foods, get her on the ultimate enzymes, and then treat her, I think it's a lady, I'm assuming, treat her.
This is a guy. He used to be
then the guy.
alcoholic. He used to be
well, there you go. The alcohol.
So the liver is probably involved.
Well, alcohol puts a major stress on the pancreas, and pancreatic disease and alcoholism go hand in hand. So he may have some pancreatic damage. So all the things I just said, basically, work on the pancreas, and the less food he eats, the better off he's going to be, because the more food he eats, the harder the pancreas is working. Okay. Have him give his pancreas a vacation, his poor pancreas. I call the pancreas Mr. Cellophane. Did you ever see the movie Chicago? Remember Mr. Cellophane? Mr. Cellophane was transparent. Nobody could see him. They call him Mr. Cellophane because he was transparent. That's what I call the pancreas, Mr. Cellophane. Because nobody appreciates the pancreas. But the pancreas is so important that if anything goes wrong with the pancreas, first of all, it's the most agonizing pain and misery you can imagine, pancreatitis. But pancreatic cancer, God forbid, is the most deadly or one of the most deadly cancers.
Ashe. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Hattie. Two great questions. Pharmacist Ben, we're at the top of the hour. Do you have time for another question?
Let's do one more.
All right. Let's go over to Connie. Connie, go ahead and unmute yourself. Hello, Connie. Are you able to unmute yourself? No. All right.
Okay, there we go. There we go.
Hi, Connie. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for talking to me. I love you guys. I listen to you once in a while. Okay, I've been
You mean once a week or once in a while? You mean once a day?
Once in a while, because I'm kind of busy. I take care of my
okay.
husband, blah, 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 you know, that kind of stuff.
Okay, I'm good.
Anyway, so my story is I do take the regular pack with the body pack, and it's got for the bones and stuff like that. Anyway, so what my question is I have Wegener's, you know what that is?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And so with that, of course, I take Cellcept and prednisone and blah, blah, blah. I've had it for like 13 years, so it's kind of controlled, you know, it's not real crazy. I've had all the plasmapheresis and all that kind of crap. And then I had asked my kidney doctor if I could get off the Cellcept at some point because I seem to be, you know, kind of stable. And he goes, oh yeah, sure. So I got off of it. And guess what? I had I have the saddle nose now. And then,
okay.
you know, and
how old are you, Connie?
I am 73.
Okay, you want help with the Wegener's? In the interest of time, I'll just cut to the chase here because it's very easy.
Yeah, let me just tell you the worst part about what happened. They had me to go do Rituxan, and that killed all my B cells. So that's my problem. I have no immunity, and I was
your
wondering
problem is not Rituxan. You got bigger fish to fry here. And Rituxan, by the way, for people who don't know, is one of those UMAB drugs that you see advertised all the time, and they use it for autoimmune disease because they're knuckleheads.
Yes.
Knuckleheads.
I found that out
and I don't want to. I don't like talking behind people's backs. So I wish your doctor would come on so I could tell him he's a knucklehead.
Yeah.
Okay, but I can't, and it's unfortunate because I hate talking behind people's back, but that's just how it is. Autoimmune diseases are diseases of the blood. Period. Right. Now, Wegener's happens to attack the blood vessels, so it's obviously, you know, a blood issue. But all autoimmune diseases are diseases of the blood. Right. In fact, they test for autoimmune diseases by testing what? The blood.
Right.
Right. So, you know, everybody, your medical professionals know, every medical professional knows that to see if you have an autoimmune disease, they check the blood. It's a blood problem. Right. It's not if you have multiple sclerosis, it's not a nerve problem. If you have type 1 diabetes, it's not a pancreas problem. If you have rheumatoid arthritis, it's not a joint problem. If you have psoriasis, it's not a skin problem. These are all autoimmune diseases. And Wegener's is a capillary problem, a blood vessel problem, where the immune system attacks the blood vessels. But it's the same thing as you have multiple sclerosis of the blood vessels, Connie. You have rheumatoid arthritis of the blood vessels. You have psoriasis of the blood vessels. You have vitiligo of the blood vessels. You have type 1 diabetes of the blood vessels. You have Hashimoto's thyroiditis of the blood vessels. You feel what I'm saying? It's the same mechanism. It doesn't matter where it is. It doesn't matter where it is. So what does the doctors do? They say, oh, what do we do? I have it. Bingo. We'll shut down the immune system. That way you won't have a problem. Now, who in their right mind would do something? Who thinks that's a good idea to shut down the immune system? Because they don't know what else to do. Right. And it's not your doctor. I say they're knuckleheads. Your doctor's not a knucklehead. He can balance his checkbook. He can drive a car. He's not like mentally retarded. He's a smart guy. But the model is knuckleheaded. The paradigm is knuckleheaded. It's not your doctor. This is not about the doctor.
Do you think that blood purification stuff that you guys have would help?
Yes, clean your blood. I'm going to tell Connie. First of all, you should be listening to this program more than once in a while, obviously. I could start off with that. Secondly, if you will fast for 2 or 3 days, you will immediately notice your symptoms will improve.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now you have to eat eventually, obviously, and you're going to have to do other things. But I want you to see how fast you can notice your symptoms resolving, because once things don't get into the blood anymore, there's no more immune attack. You don't have any more toxicity getting into the blood. And this is for everybody who has an autoimmune disease. You can't do this permanently, but it's a good way to demonstrate the relationship between your lifestyle choices and your symptoms. between what you're doing and how your disease shows up. Because otherwise you go to the doctor and you go, what am I going to do? How am I going to get out of this mess? Right? My body is attacking myself. And your doctor says, it's just one of those things. We don't know why the body attacks itself. It just goes crazy once in a while. Your mother had it. It's in your genetics. They don't have any answers for you. I'm giving you the answer, but not just giving you the answer. I'm showing you logically. Toxicity gets into the blood. I'm going to give you the mechanism. We talk about it all the time here, so I'm sure people are just rolling their eyes, but it's worth saying it again. Once toxicity gets into the bloodstream, the immune system becomes hyperactive because the blood is the sacred space. Now you have the enemy in the blood. You have an emergency. Remember a lot, you're a little older than me, but you remember that show, Connie, Lost in Space?
Oh, yeah.
Remember the robot?
Yep.
AJ.
Yep.
Robot. What does the robot do? Danger, 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 danger. That's your bloodstream when the toxins get in.
That's how I've been feeling.
That's what happens. Your blood freaks out. The immune system freaks out. So guess what it does? It takes those toxins and it puts it in soft tissues, in the vein, in the neural sheaths, the covering, if you have MS, or in the thyroid, or in the pancreas, or it stashes it. And now the various parts of the body look distorted because they've got these toxins in there. And then the immune system attacks. That is the mechanism for autoimmune diseases. And you should tell that to your doctor, and he'll either thank you or he'll try to call the State Board of Pharmacy and get my license taken away, one or the other.
Oh, I would never tell him where it came from.
Oh, you should. I want him to know, because this is the mechanism of all autoimmune diseases that affect 30+ million people in this country. And nobody knows what to do except to shut down the immune system with a drug. And that's what these genetic, monoclonal antibody drugs.
Very poisonous drug. Very poisonous.
They're awful drugs.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And and they're expensive too. The Rituxan, you probably have insurance, but it probably costs $10,000 a month.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, it's absurd,
Well,
right?
yeah, it was. I just went through a series of it, but it was enough to kill my B cells. So my whole thing was, I'm wondering if my B cells can come back if I can get on your blood purifier.
More than likely they will, but you really got to. Now listen, let me ask you this, and you may not know the answer, but you may. You sound like a smart lady. Have you had food problems, digestive problems for a long time?
I used to, but I'm better because I've been checking what I eat.
I'm not attacking you. I just want clean information here. You don't have to say I used to, but not anymore. Did you have a history of that? And you don't have to answer because, of course, given that mechanism that I just talked about, do you understand the mechanism now?
Right.
And for everybody listening, then we have to go. And Connie, this especially for you, mechanisms are key.
Mm-hmm.
Always want to know the mechanism. You want to know the mechanism of your disease. You want to know the mechanism of your drug. You want to know the mechanism of your nutrition. Once you understand the mechanisms, then you can start to work. Otherwise, it's just take this, take that. Why? Because I said so. And like you do with your kids, because I said so. Let me tell you, you want to piss off your kids? Say, because I said so.
Right.
So the mechanism allows you to understand how things work. That's why I take so much time. We only talk to 3 or 4 people here. I know there's like probably 20 people who got questions. We only talk to 3 or 4 because the mechanisms are so important.
Okay.
Somebody can't give you the mechanisms or for how your disease shows up or how your nutrition is going to work. You want to find somebody who can. And that's what we do on this program. And I hope I helped you, Connie.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
All right. Thank you, Connie. Great question. Pharmacist Ben, would immortalium be something for her to consider?
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt her. But really, that certainly wouldn't hurt. Immortalium is great for everybody, actually. I take it every day. But the real problem here is something's getting into her bloodstream. At this point, they've shut down her immune system. Do you guys see how counterproductive it is for longevity and for good health to shut down your immune system? Who does that?
Doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense, right? But if you have an autoimmune disease, it'll suppress your symptoms because now you don't have the immune attack. They used to do prednisone. These new drugs work like they call them biologics. And instead of shutting down the whole immune system like prednisone did, that's what they used to give you 30 years ago before these monoclonal antibodies. That's what they call them. They end UMAB, MAB. They end MAB, monoclonal antibodies. If you look at the chemical name, you always see MAB at the end. And so these monoclonal antibodies are drugs that specifically target the chemicals that cause inflammation, the molecules that cause inflammation. They're called cytokines. And these molecules that cause inflammation are susceptible to targeting by high technology antibodies. Monoclonal antibodies are high technology antibodies that specifically shoot down the inflammatory molecules, so now you don't have inflammation. But you need inflammation. That's your protective response. That's the immune system's major tool, is inflammatory molecules. You've just shut them down. All right?
All right. Well,
I hope I wasn't, I know I was on my high horse today, but I think
you know what? Your high horse is so full of knowledge, and I know AJ needs to say something.
Yes, AJ.
Well, Pharmacist Ben, we love you, but I think you may have done the folks a disservice by not, what you have to rectify next week, explaining to the people how they're going to repair their gut to stop the bleeding.
Let's do it real quick. Just tell you a couple. FucoidZ, love that for repairing the gut. Collagen peptides, love it for repairing the gut. Healthy bone and joint pack, the OsteoFX for repairing the gut. Beyond Tangy Tangerine, Ultimate Microbiome, Ultimate or Nightly Essence, Dr. Oz's Liver Cleanse. All of these are very important for building, for strengthening the gut. Ultimate EFAs and Ultimate Enzymes, of course. Apple cider vinegar with your meals, or Beyond Tangy Tangerine with your meals, something acidic with your meals. And then most importantly, a food diary, and eliminate the problem foods. And don't focus on gluten. Don't focus on just the 10 bad foods. It could be anything. Like we talked, it could be bananas. It could be spinach. It could be pineapple. There's a lot of things that we consider to be good, healthy foods, which they are, but they could be histaminic problems, leftovers, cheese, yogurt. All of these are good foods ordinarily. Processed meats aren't, but there's a lot of good foods that are histaminic. Processed meats are notorious for having being high histamine foods. So don't just go by lists. Don't just go by gluten. Go by your body.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Pharmacist Ben.
Thank
and we
you.
had a dozen more questions that we did not even get to.
This is what we're going to do, Becca. AJ, me and you will do a what did you call those? Pharmacist Ben Bites? We'll do Ben Bites this week. Call me, AJ. We're going to do one this week. So anybody who didn't get their questions answered, let's get on a call next, maybe Monday or Tuesday.
All right. Fantastic. You have those questions saved, and AJ has access to them. So Tuesday or Wednesday next week, folks, make sure that you have
Monday. She said Monday.
Monday or Tuesday, either way. We'll talk. Give me a call, AJ. Becca, let me just say something real quick. Becca, you're awesome. Thank you for doing this every single day. You are awesome. Ruth Ellen, same. Phyllis, Marilyn, Albert, AJ, thank you all. I appreciate everybody, and thank you to all the listeners and viewers. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Pharmacist Ben Fuchs. He is absolutely awesome. We love all the information that he brings, all his knowledge and wisdom coming from an allopathic field where in pharmacy, they do teach nutrition, folks. So, and he's bringing that plus all of the autodidactic information that he has learned on his own and through his continuing education. I am just so honored to be able to share him with all of you so that you also can be informed. So make sure that you are subscribing to our channels so that you get that notification when we have Ben Bites, when it goes, it gets posted. So it's not a live Zoom like we do here, but it does go live on the different channels. So make sure that you have those notifications turned on so you don't miss that information. And yes, getting lots of comments here. And I love Pharmacist Ben. Thanks a million, all of you. Thank you, Verna. And yes, we are putting together the protocol that he just wrote or just rattled off for us to work specifically on creating a healthy gut. So I'm super excited to be able to offer that to you. If you are not on any of our communication channels, email us for that as we get it put together. Then we'll be able to send that information out to you. You can send information to questions@dailywithdoc.com. Again, that's questions@dailywithdoc.com. Well, folks, I am so thankful that I do not have to do this show by myself, as we have AJ, who has helped get us on all of these different platforms, helps keep things, keeps us up to date on where people are at. So if you're on one of these different platforms and you have a way of letting us know that you're there, please say hello, because we want to know who's hearing us. And most importantly, share this with somebody that you know, folks. We had so much information packed into this hour plus that there's something for so many different people that are out there hurting, not getting answers, or being told that there's nothing to do, or they have to keep taking pharmaceutical upon pharmaceutical to, there's no healing with a pharmaceutical, to mask a symptom of another poor health condition. And they just keep compounding. I know that from my own experience. And so thankful that I found the nutrition that we represent here on this program, because I no longer need any pharmaceuticals, and I no longer have those poor health conditions either. So there's a lot that you yourself can do as an empowered individual to creating a better health journey. So I said thanks to AJ already. Thank you, AJ. And Phyllis, thank you so much, Phyllis, as she and her husband, Andy, are the two of the pioneers within our company that have been here from the beginning and helped get Dr. Wallach and the Dead Doctors Don't Lie program syndicated across the United States, which is how I found out about this program. So thank you so much, Phyllis, for all that you have done over the years and still do. And one of these days, I'm going to have a conversation, just Phyllis and I, and we're going to be talking about this opportunity and how it has changed lives, not only our own lives, those that we have worked with. So prepare for that, please. And we have Albert joining us from South Africa as he's helping to let people in and also making it possible. So as I'm sleeping and some of the others are sleeping, he's awake. So when you call 855-949-3377, that is the certified holistic health coach that will probably be answering the phone. We do have another one that I wonder when she sleeps, but we have an amazing, amazing team. And also Ruth Ellen Sanchez, my executive production manager, who is my right hand. We do a lot together, and that's one thing that I love about this program is she is one of the many associates that I have that I've not only worked with through the business, but have become great friends with. And folks, this is a family. And as a family, we help each other, help others. And that's one of the things that I absolutely love most about this. And we also have Marilyn, who I wonder when she sleeps. She is putting the information into the chat, and Phyllis was helping her as well today, putting information into the chat. So if you're here live with us in the Zoom, you can see the fruits of her talent in that chat, which is only available if you're here live with us. So feel free to join us live. Go to zoom.dailywithdoc.com, but that's only Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from 12 to 1 p.m. Pacific, 1 to 2 Mountain, 2 to 3 Central, and 3 to 4 Eastern. So thank you so much. We got more comments coming in. I just love all these hearts for being part with us today, investing in yourself. Because folks, as you invest in yourself, living and enjoying life later is so much cheaper, so much. So get back with the person that shared this program with you. They are your number one point of contact. I am strict about that because they cared enough about you to share this information with you. So care enough about them to say thank you. Folks, You have been watching dailywithdoc.com. If you'd like to connect with a certified holistic health coach and you have never spoken with anybody before, nobody referred you to this program, feel free to give my team a call at 855-949-3377. Again, 855-949-3377. And if you have aches and pains that you just have not been able to get rid of, you need to watch yesterday's show with Tom Baker DeLonzo. He just did a fantastic job at helping me with something that had just occurred, so that I can be pain-free once again. Go to dailywithdoc.com, connect with us, sign up for our newsletter. You can find a good foods, bad foods list there. You can also find previous programs and articles to help you become more empowered with more knowledge to help yourself. That's what we're all about. You'll also find a store with any and all the products that were mentioned on today's program. Again, that's dailywithdoc.com. Until next time, bye for now. Welcome to Daily with Doc and Becca. This program is for educational purposes only. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual sharing their testimony. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach.